5 months after my wife's death, life still moved like I was underwater. Slow, muffled, unreal. I only stepped out today because my glasses had finally cracked down the center. The repair shop was familiar territory, a place she and I had visited together more times than I could count. But the moment the technician, our longtime family master, saw me, the color drained from his face. He didn't greet me. Didn't ask what happened. He simply said, "Come with me." He guided me through the workshop, past shelves of lenses and dusty tools, into a narrow back room I never knew existed. The door clicked shut behind us. "What's going on?" I asked. He leaned close, voice shaking. "You must check the will. Immediately. Before the investigator becomes you." My heartbeat staggered. What does that mean? Instead of answering, he took my broken glasses, connected them to a small device, and began pulling data like he'd done it 100 times. "You're not going to believe what's inside these," he whispered. "But you need to see it before someone else does." A screen lit up. Not diagnostics. Not repair logs. Footage. Footage recorded through my own glasses. And in the first frozen frame, my wife appeared. Alive. Breathing. Talking to a man whose face made my stomach drop. For a moment I forgot how to breathe. My wife had been gone for 5 months. Funeral, condolences, paperwork, everything sealed and buried. Yet there she was on the screen, alive, leaning close to a man I had never seen before. The technician lowered the volume, but a few words still slipped through. "He doesn't suspect anything, not yet." My name followed. Spoken softly. Strategically. I felt myself drifting backward until my spine touched the wall. "How long has this been in the glasses?" I asked. He swallowed. "Since the day she brought them in for adjustment. She insisted only I handle them." His hands trembled. I didn't know what she asked the manufacturer to embed, until now. He clicked to the next clip. A date stamp, 2 weeks before her supposed accident. My wife sat at a table with the same man, whispering over documents. Legal documents. Something stamped. Something signed. Something that should have never existed without me. Then the technician froze the frame. "Look there," he said. At the bottom corner of the document, barely visible, was the start of my forged signature. My stomach turned ice. "She wasn't planning a future with you," he whispered. "She was planning a replacement for you." The room tilted. Everything I thought I buried clawed its way back to the surface. Whatever killed her started long before she died. I didn't speak for a long time. The room felt smaller with every frame, like the walls were inching forward. My wife, dead, mourned, buried, had been building a life that didn't include me. A life that required my signature without my knowledge. A life that needed me removed. But shock only lasted a moment. What came next was quieter. Sharper. Colder. "Play the next one," I said. The technician hesitated but obeyed. Another video loaded, this time recorded the night before her accident. Rain hammered against windows. My wife paced the living room, phone pressed to her ear. "He won't fight it," she said. "He's too trusting. Once the will is updated, everything transfers cleanly." Pause. "No, he won't see it coming." My jaw tightened, but I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I just watched. Then her voice changed, lower, hesitant. "What if he finds out?" And the man's voice answered from the other end. "Then we finish what we started." The technician paused the clip, watching my reaction the way someone watches a bomb for signs of detonation. But I didn't explode. Didn't shout. Didn't break. I simply straightened my glasses, still cracked, still recording truth, and whispered, "I need every file. Every second. Because whatever game they played, it wasn't over. Not for me. Not yet." The technician transferred every file onto a sealed drive, his hands shaking like he feared the footage more than I did. When he finally placed it in my palm, he whispered, "Be careful who you trust. Someone else has copies. Someone involved." I stepped out of the shop with the drive burning hot in my pocket. The air felt different, too still, too watchful. My wife's death, her forged documents, the threat whispered over the phone, none of it felt accidental anymore. I drove home slowly, scanning every car in my mirrors. Every turn. Every shadow. Grief had blinded me before, but not now, not anymore. Inside, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat at my desk and connected the drive to my laptop, isolating it from the network. More clips surfaced. Some recorded months earlier. Conversations behind closed doors. Meetings I never knew she had. Documents she shouldn't have touched. But one folder froze me. It wasn't video. It wasn't audio. It was a scanned agreement, Updated will instructions. And at the bottom, a date. A date scheduled for next week. Meaning whoever she was working with hadn't stopped after she died. My replacement, as she called him, wasn't a partner. He was finishing her plan. I leaned back, breath steadying. If they thought grief made me weak, they miscalculated. By morning, my grief had transformed into something sharper, something that fit more like armor than pain. I wasn't just a widower anymore. I was a target still being written into a script I didn't approve, a will that wasn't mine, and a plan that clearly hadn't ended with her death. So I began rewriting the story. First step, protection. I contacted a private estate attorney, quiet, discreet, the kind who specialized in undoing the damage others tried to bury. I didn't show him the videos yet, I only laid out the legal pieces my wife had tried to move behind my back. When he asked how I learned about the forgery, I simply said, a source. He didn't need more. Second step, control. I withdrew access to every financial account, froze assets tied to her previous filings, and requested an audit on anything updated after her death. If someone was trying to use her name or mine, the trail would light up like gasoline. Third step, bait. I spoke aloud in my living room, soft, believable lies. Maybe I should finalize the will update she wanted. Maybe it's time. The glasses recorded every word. If someone was still listening through them, I wanted them to hear exactly what I needed them to. Because whoever my wife trusted the glasses more. And by tonight, so would I. By evening, I had rehearsed every gesture, every word, every subtle shift of tone. If someone was still watching through the glasses, someone who believed I was clueless, grieving, pliable, then tonight they would see exactly what they expected. I left the glasses on the coffee table, angled toward me, the cracked lens blinking faintly as it recorded. I sat on the couch with a stack of papers I didn't intend to sign but needed them to believe I would. I sighed loudly, let my shoulders slump, practiced a defeated sort of exhaustion. Then I began speaking, slowly, deliberately. Maybe she was right, I murmured. Maybe the update should go through. It's what she wanted after all. A lie wrapped in grief, delivered softly. Minutes later my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I let it ring twice then answered. A familiar voice, his voice came through the line. Come. Confident. Certain I was the man he thought he had dismantled. I heard you're reconsidering, he said. It's good you're honoring her wishes. I kept my voice steady, small. I just don't want any more trouble. You won't have any, he assured. Not if you follow through. I nodded into the silence, letting him believe he owned the moment. But what he didn't know was the attorney already traced the call. And by tomorrow I would own him. The next morning arrived with the quiet precision of a clock striking an hour it had been waiting for. My attorney called at 8:12 a.m., his voice clipped but satisfied. We have him. His number traces back to a holding company your wife opened 6 months before her death. Fraud flags everywhere. I'm bringing someone with me. By 9 a.m., a firm knock echoed through my house. I opened the door to find my attorney standing beside a state investigator, badge visible, expression unreadable. The same authority my wife's accomplice warned me about, except today they weren't looking at me. May we come in? The investigator asked. I led them to the dining table where I'd neatly arranged every printed scan, every forged document, every clip from the glasses, organized, chronological, undeniable. The investigator watched one of the final recordings. My wife whispering about signatures, about timing, about removing complications. Then the man's voice, he won't fight. He never does. The investigator paused the video. He underestimated you. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. At 9:47 a.m. another call came. Unknown number, same man. I put it on speaker. What's taking so long? He snapped. Sign the documents. The investigator stepped closer, silent, waiting. I looked at the phone, finally letting the ice in my voice show. Why don't you tell him who you are? I said. The investigator did. And the line went dead. The investigator didn't waste time. Within hours, warrants were drafted, bank triggers activated, and every account tied to the forged will or the holding company snapped shut like jaws around a trapped animal. The man who had called me so confidently was no longer a voice in the shadows. He had a name, a record, and now a rapidly collapsing alibi. By afternoon they found him. He tried to run, tried to claim ignorance, even tried spinning lies about my wife's plans. None of it mattered. The evidence from the glasses alone crushed every excuse. When they brought him in for questioning, the investigator invited me to observe behind the glass. I watched him shift, sweat, stutter, So much bravado gone. He kept saying her name like it was a shield, but it only buried him deeper. Every forged document, every whispered plan, every threat he'd made against me, all of it stacked into a wall he couldn't climb. Then came the final blow. My attorney slid a folder onto the table, my wife's real will. The one she'd never managed to overwrite. Her accomplice froze. He understood then. He'd committed fraud. For nothing. His entire scheme died in that moment. As they led him away, he looked back at me, expecting rage. All he saw was calm. I'd already won. And I never needed to raise my voice.